Good morning, everybody. Like I said, I was going to D.C. to share my story. Well, here we are. We're in D.C. It is April 2022, and it's time to tell my story. So with that being said, I'm going to make you aware of everything. And it's all going into a documentary. All the names of the people that have committed negative and done negative, hateful things toward me, against me and my family, destroying my family. You coming to light on the steps of Washington, D.C. this morning. With that being said, God bless you all. I pray for everybody, whether you've done right or you've done wrong. The truth is going to be prevailed. I have the paperwork right here. Okay, this is just the beginning of the story. The story starts with the fact that this is my family. And for some reason, it ends up being that the government continuously tries to destroy my family. That right there that I just showed you in the name, that is a former supervisor for Border Patrol. His wife was an IEP teacher, Brighton Elementary School. This all started in Island Pond, Vermont, when Mary Hare, the IEP teacher at Brighton Elementary, decided that she needed to lure, groom, and then have my daughter sexually assaulted, physically assaulted, emotionally abused, all kinds of abuse, physical abuse, all kinds of stuff happening, right? So with that being said, it was reported that was a DCF record from Newport, Vermont, Department of Children and Family Services, at the time overseen by, and still, Department of Human Services, overseen by who? Sean Donahue, okay? And the Attorney General, T.J. Donovan. Bernie Sanders, Patrick Leahy, everybody is aware. Even the FBI in Albany, New York, okay? So because nobody wanted to listen to me, I brought it to Washington, D.C., like I promised I would. My daughter was abused by Jeffrey Hare, okay? That's the paperwork that proves. I never knew about it until after it happened, and then this happened. My daughter ran away, okay? Right, see it again, okay? She ran away. She came to me for safety. Then I was accused of buying a plane ticket. I didn't buy a plane ticket for my daughter. So before I left to do what I'm going to do, which is file all this paperwork against all of you, I went for a medical exam. It ends up being that I'm very clear, healthy, and even the 2 psych doctors that were ordered to come see me had nothing to say about me. So with that being said, I'm not subdued by drugs, alcohol, or silly pills. I'm not injected by anything by this government. I don't take medications. You can't subdue me, and you're not going to silence me. I'm here today to tell my story. I'm going to start with when I was a young girl. Keith Partridge molested me. Don't say he didn't. And because I just said that, you can't burn my house down again, Daryl Partridge. From the North Anson Fire Department, directed by the Anson Town office, right? That would include all role players, wouldn't it? The town selectman, the clerk behind the desk, all of that. No, it's not Claudia Viles. What's her name, Miss Murray? Yeah, okay. So, with that being said, I had no choice but to document everything. All my motel stays, everybody I've talked to, KV Cap, a girl named Kimberly, not spelled L-Y, spelled L-E-E. That means she must be a he, she. Just saying. So that right there is a lot of complication because males are retarded, and we all know that's a scientifical proven fact. Don't even argue it. Okay? So with that being said, I don't give a fuck what you think. That's the truth and the fact as well. So then it comes to Somerset County Sheriff's Department, Dale Lancaster, who is the sheriff. who oversees Matt Cunningham, who is noted in my medical records to have abused me years ago, because I said, why is Joel Cummings still a sergeant at the police department in Skowhegan? Or why is he on detail as a resource officer, perhaps, at the Reddington Fairview General Hospital? I was only 17 when I got pregnant. I had just been 3 weeks into 18 when I had a baby. Her name is Brianna Marie. Joel Cummings and Paul York were at that hospital. Paul York, I wouldn't touch with somebody else's, I'm just saying. But Paul York had to come to the hospital to tell Jeffrey Keaton to get his fucking girlfriend out of my hospital room. Okay? But at the same time, Joel Cummings, do you want to tell everybody the truth about how old I was when you were sleeping with me? And so that means Jeffrey Hare, how old was Bree when you attacked her? Why did she have to go for a pregnancy test at Island Pond Health Center? And you know what? I've got that paperwork. Okay? Island Pond Medical Center in Island Pond, Brighton, Vermont, is run by the state. And their representation is Catherine Piper, who was the attorney that represented my daughter, and then she was a conflict of interest, and now we're bringing it all. So Brianna and I filed lawsuits back in 2021 against Catherine Piper, who is the representation for the children of the state, but also her law firm represents, or the law firm she works for, represents the Island Pond Medical Center, which is directed by the state, which is directed by the Attorney General, T.J. Donovan. So all these times that I've asked Dr. Primo, and I put it out there publicly, and if you look it up, Island Pond Health Center reviews, you're going to see that I asked him to help my daughter and my grandson many, many moons ago. The fact is, my daughter had a tick bite and a bullseye's rash when she was 8 years old. I took her to Skowhegan Reddington Fairview General Hospital, and it was diagnosed as ringworm. Well, years later, she developed now what's called Crohn's and all that bullshit. And that was right after she had a breakdown. She was bleeding from her rectum. I took her to the doctors, and that was at St. J Pediatrics, and they took her into a room, and they said, well, there's obviously something else going on here. And when you're ready to talk about it, we're here. Well, what was happening was bleeding from the rectum. Why was my daughter bleeding from the rectum? We never got that answer until after the state came to me with a fictitious warrant of abandonment. They never presented it to me, but they allegedly faxed it to Falmouth Police Department. And as a result of that, and yeah, you hear the news in the background because I want everybody to know that there's war on humanity right now, okay? So Falmouth Police Department in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Barnstable County was overseen by my grandfather because he was what? One of the three founders. He was the founder of Yarmouth Port, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Okay, and then my other grandfather was the governor. So with that being said, we were at Barnstable County Fairgrounds celebrating my family, where I had recently, through the years, been what you call human trafficked, sex trafficked, and labor trafficked, okay, by the carnival. And my keeper has a very close relative, perhaps a brother, that is in Senate, in the Congress. And his name is Mr. McGovern. So with that being said, being on my grandfather's founded land, they came to Barnstable County Fairgrounds, being Falmouth Police Department and Department of Children and Family Services, and they took my daughter Kiana into custody, said that I had abandoned her. She was with family, friends, and on family founded land. So recently I brought that again, like I have been for the past 15 years, to Falmouth Police Department, to the chief that's been there for 25 years, to the supervisory and administrators of Cape Cod, Falmouth, Barnstable County, Massachusetts, and nobody wants to answer, all right? So I've put that out there. You can look up under YouTube. Cape Cod, Falmouth Police Department. Everybody knows. And then I had a stalker. And I also have filed protection from abuse and harassment and stalking against the government agencies, The state agencies, TJ Donovan, Patrick Leahy, Bernie Sanders, Aaron Frey from Maine, Janet Mills from Maine, all of them, right? Why did they all get frivolously dismissed is what I want to know. I have the right to a fair hearing. I have the right to be heard. And you have no right trying to silence me. That's a violation of my rights. So here again, I'm in federal court status. My cases, yep, you can look them all up. Crosson, Crosson versus Department of Children and Family Services, Northeast Kingdom Mental Health Services, you name it. They're all listed on Google for the federal court in Burlington, Vermont. As far as that goes, look up Barnett Woman Sues on Google. You're going to see my face. You're going to see a picture of me and Gypsy. And you're going to know that I was with full intent to run state representative 2020. November 23rd, it was put in the newspaper that I had full intent to run for state rep 2020 in the state of Vermont. November 26th is when the federal court, Lisa Wright from Burlington, Vermont Federal Court, notes to me, in email even, that the first piece of mail they received back returned to sender, no forwarding address, after I had filed protection from abuse and harassment because a hitman had called me 4 times, and I reported it, and I ran for my safety and my life, as well as I was on missionary duty, because I followed Jesus. Okay? And with the natural instinct and the naturally inherited intelligence that I have, being a house and a burr, okay? Relatives being married into, the Kennedys married into the house, okay? Who else? Let's see. George W. Bush is related to Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth II's grandfather is Reverend John Mayo. Reverend John Mayo's daughter, Elizabeth Mayo, married my grandfather, Joseph Mayo, the son of Joseph Howes, sorry. Okay, so Joseph Howes married Reverend John Mayo's daughter. Reverend John Mayo was the first Puritan Reverend to come over from England, granted the passage to come over from England from the persecution that he was facing, correct? So knowing that he was the first Puritan Reverend in Revere, Massachusetts, and the British burned his church down, okay? My grandfather being granted the land, and the founder of Yarmouth Port, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, being married to my grandmother, Mary Burr, who then went on to remarry, after being widowed by my grandfather, the Governor Prince of Plymouth Colony, Massachusetts. So knowing all of that, knowing that Mary Burr, B-U-R-R, / think about it, Aaron Burr, okay? Then you got TJ Donovan, who obviously has a conflict with my family. For whatever purpose. But you see, back when I was just 19 years old, I had been already sexually lured by Joel Cummings being a cop, and then I tried to escape that, but being the mindset that I was already used to that kind of life, right? So what had happened? I met the chief of police, Richard Donovan, Dick Donovan, the chief of police of Sugar Hill, New Hampshire. And I ended up engaged to him at the age of 19. He was 37 years old. Figure that out. Richard, known as Dick Donovan, Sugar Hill. What's his relation to T.J. Donovan? What's his relation, T.J. Donovan, to the Audettes? Jim Audette. Jim Audette, Beans Mobile Home Sales, which ties into Lyndonville, Vermont, which ties into Joda Hodge. Joda Hodge. I want to know, do you all know about the story about that? Melissa Jenkins, the teacher from St. John's Berry Academy that disappeared and was found bottom up in the river down by the property I lived on in Barnett, Vermont. Then my house trailer / work trailer came up missing. Joda Hodge called me and asked me if I was around. Look him up. He is an actor from Hollywood that lives in Lyndonville, Vermont. His father had a business of building tiny homes. If you watch Joda Hodges' podcast and film trailers on YouTube, Joda, J-O-D-A, Hodge, H-O-D-G-E, you're going to find that my car came up missing, which was evidence of a sexual assault. There was blood-stained jeans in that car with a cut coil spring. I have the pictures, I have the proof, and I still have all my request of statements of evidence and request of records and the request for protection from abuse, harassment, and my safety, as well as my life. And it wasn't granted. So I'm here to file misconduct against all the judges, the state's attorney in Maine and Vermont, and for a formal investigation from Maine, Vermont, throughout down to Florida. Because why? Well, let's recap this. My daughter ran away from the abuse committed by Jeff Hare when they took her from the House family founded property. And no, I'm not mental. Okay? I know what I'm talking about, and I'm here. I want justice, and I'm seeking it.